What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
First things first, will Josh Allen be even better coming into next season after what we just saw this season? Does Aaron Rodgers really want out of Green Bay? Wait till you hear who is saying yes. And Scotty Miller thinks he can beat Tyreek Hill in a foot race. Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. A foot race. Scotty, what is it? Scotty Too Hottie versus the Cheetah. Who wins that one, Nick?
Scotty Too Hottie.
Oh, come on.
Scotty
Nobody, including Scotty Miller's friends and family, think he's winning that race. Nobody.
Not even his friends and family, Nick. Scotty Too Hottie.
But we got to start with Tom Brady. You know, Wilds, you probably don't know this. Before he was Tampa Tam, he was Boston Brady. When it was always Super Bowl or bust, it's still pretty peachy for Brady, though not so much for his former head coach, at least according to Brady's dad, who said Belichick is, quote, on a little bit of a hot seat right now. Belichick, Brady. Brandon, does Belichick need to get to another Super Bowl now that Brady did it without him in Tampa?
Absolutely not. Come on, guys. Both of them reached the GOAT status because of each other. They needed each other. Come on, think about it. Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time. Tom Brady, greatest quarterback, potentially greatest football player, greatest athlete, champion of all time. Now, if he goes and wins his 7th Super Bowl. But there's a few things that stands out because everyone right now probably is leaning more towards Tom Brady because he went into Tampa in his first year and he took the team to the Super Bowl. But let's not forget about Bill Belichick. Pure football. His special teams has been the best unit in all of football the last 20 years. They don't make mistakes. Defensively, sometimes, you know, they're okay. Sometimes they're exceptional. They're great. That's not Tom Brady. Leadership. Think about leadership. He's probably the most studied leader in all of business. Like, people fly in to sit down with him to pick his brain. It's easy to draw up X's and O's and draw up schemes and plays. But when you talk about getting guys on one accord and moving in one direction, that takes leadership. And he's one of the best that's ever done it. And then, Nick, putting the team together. He's the general manager. He makes all the decisions. He drafts the guys. He signs the guys. He cuts the guys. He trades for guys. Now, look. He gets a lot of stuff for being a cutthroat guy. A lot of people would say that's what actually makes him great. The one mistake he made with one player is being cutthroat with Tom Brady. So it's both of them. I love the conversation, but come on, man, let's not pick Tom or Bill.
Okay, so here's the thing. Prior to this year, I always would say superstar player at the quarterback position is going to, who is more valuable, Walsh or Montana? Who was more valuable, Noel or Bradshaw? It was Bradshaw. So who was more valuable, Belichick or Brady? It was Brady. But that's almost a different discussion. Who brings more value, the superstar quarterback or the coach that has his hand in everything else? This discussion is more, to me, Wilds, about can Tom Brady's success outside of New England retroactively ding Belichick's resume? And I'm here to tell you, fair or not, I think the answer is yes. Fair or not, you know the stories that would be written in 10 or 15 years if Bill Belichick never makes another Super Bowl, if he never makes another deep playoff run, and it's going to be, this was a 500-ish coach before Tom Brady took over. He had been to the playoffs once, and they went 1-1. Then he had a 20-year magical journey with if we're talking about this in 15 years, we'd be saying, with the second greatest quarterback of all time behind only Patrick Mahomes. In those 20 years, he won 6 Super Bowls, went to 9. And then in the 8 years after that guy left, they were just another team. If that is what happens, then absolutely history, they still might call him the GOAT, but it will be easier to catch him being Belichick, and the resume won't be as impenetrable because of what Brady has done outside of the cocoon of New England. I don't know if that's totally fair, Wilds, but I would bet any amount of money that narrative and that discussion will exist.
Yes. I think it's totally fair. You know, if Phil Jackson stayed with the Bulls and the Bulls didn't make the playoffs, you could say like, it's mostly Jordan. And if Jordan went to the Wizards and made the finals, you'd be like, well, looks like it was mostly Jordan, not Phil Jackson. But I don't think we have to worry about it because I've never been more optimistic about the Patriots. Here's why. 1, all of our opt-outs coming back. Patrick Chung's coming back. Hightower's coming back. Marcus Cannon's coming back. Number 2, 4th most cap space. Oh, great. What are we going to spend the money on? We can go shopping. Number 3.
Tom Brady.
Number 15 draft pick. We haven't had a draft pick that high since I was a little boy. I was this tall. Number 4. Oh, guess what our schedule has? A bunch of new coaches. Great article in SB Nation that I didn't even think of. Like, all these new coaches hired. The Patriots get to play all of them. We get to play Urban Meyer. We played the Jets twice. We were going to play the Texans. We're going to play the Falcons. You're like, Oh, we also play Chargers. The Falcons. That's right. Because we have to play the NFC South. So that means Tom Brady is coming to New England next year, Nick. So I don't even know if we need to get to the Super Bowl.
What?
But if Tom Brady goes into Gillette and Belichick puts the clamps on him, I think that we can start a brand new conversation. Like, yeah, Belichick was to be nice to go to the Super Bowl, but if he goes into Gillette and lays an egg, and you know Belichick's got to be looking at that like an Ohio State, Michigan type game.
That I totally disagree with. I don't think one regular season game will have any legacy impact whatsoever. I think it's all about counting Super Bowl appearances, counting divisional titles, counting playoff wins. But I just want to ask Brandon a question. Brandon, when you think back on your career, okay, don't you think it is very important to your legacy and how you're remembered, the success you had once you and Jay Cutler split up? Don't you think the year that really cemented your status in your era was the year with Fitzy in New York? Because no one could say it was the system. Yep. No one could say you were yelling at Jay at practice all week and he was scared of you, so he threw you the ball. It was a new situation. It was a new everything, and you thrived.
I was scared of Jay. Let's get the record straight.
Okay.
I was scared of Jay.
You were scared of Jay. My bad. I get it confused. But I do think that's important. And Wilds brought up Phil Jackson. I think the year they won 54 games when Jordan walked away the first time and made round 2 of the playoffs is important. So I do think, Brandon, that it is legitimate to say, what did they do once they split from each other?
Man, I truly believe this. It's all about situations. For me, as a player, as an individual, a wide receiver, 6'5", 230 pounds, just God-given ability, being able to do what I can do at this size, speed, and weight. It's like, receivers at 6 feet tall. So I could have went in 20 different systems and been successful. But we're talking about championships. It takes everything. It takes the right quarterback. It takes the right offensive coordinator. It takes the right owner. It takes the right coach. So that's why I believe it was the perfect storm for them. It was the perfect setup. You got the greatest quarterback of all time, and you got the greatest coach. Bill Belichick is a genius. When we talk about preparation, he was the one that put this whole system around situational football. Guys wasn't talking about situational football before Bill Belichick. So I see what you're saying, but I just think when it comes to championships and sitting at the top of Mount Rushmore, it takes everybody.
All right, well, this isn't going to get solved today, but I want to quickly take a turn here and talk about the NBA. This game last night, Lakers beat the Lakers by 1 in a wild fourth quarter, but it didn't come without controversy. LeBron called for a flagrant here, Embiid, Joel Embiid, not too happy about it. Take a listen.
Well, first of all, you look at it, that's a very dangerous play. And I guarantee you that if it was me, I would have probably been ejected from the game, which, has happened in the past with me getting flagrant fouls really for nothing.
Yeah, a little LeBron favoritism. Nick, does Embiid have a point there?
No. There is not a player in the league that would have gotten ejected for this. Doc Rivers, Embiid's coach, said himself he didn't think this was even a flagrant 1, let alone a flagrant 2.
Right.
And if Embiid wants to talk about history, it does matter that LeBron's literally never committed a flagrant 2 in his career. So I don't think he's out there headhunting guys or trying to knock people out of the air. But that's not a flagrant 1, let alone a flagrant 2. That's ridiculous. Come on.
All right, we are heading back to the NFL, talking Buffalo Bills and their quarterback, Josh Allen. Will he be an MVP candidate for years to come? It's next. First things first.
That's funnier than the Scotty Miller thing.
Hey, First Things First listeners. I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports. Plus, a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Back to the NFL now, and the bright spotlight that will shine on Josh Allen this offseason. That after a much improved season 3 for him. That after a very impressive playoff run for his Buffalo Bills. GM Brandon Beane said this yesterday about Josh Allen, quote, "I don't think he's reached his ceiling." Guy probably lives in a big house with those big ceilings. Brandon, do you agree that Josh Allen hasn't reached his ceiling?
100%. He's right. Look, the numbers don't lie. You can go to his first year. He was last in passer rating, last in completion percentage. Fast forward to this year. He's first. He's first. This is the greatest transformation we have ever seen from the quarterback position. And he's not even in his prime. There's a sweet spot for a professional athlete. When the game slows down, you hear about it all the time. It's like, man, the game is just slow. Tom Brady walks to the line. He knows what the defense is going to do before they do it. Oh, yeah, this defensive coordinator, Coach Spags, you know what? He's been running the same thing on first down, coming out of the red zone for 20 years. So here's where I'm going. I know exactly where I'm going with the ball. He's still working his process. He's still thinking. The best athletes are the athletes that don't think out there. They just react. So that is the sweet spot for a professional athlete in any sports, is when you say, you know what? The game is slow, and now I'm asking my body to do something, and your body reacts. This kid is just now getting started, Nick. I know you've been tough on him, but brother, I'm telling you, you cannot go into the next season low on this kid. I'm telling you, accept it. He is here to stay and compete with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes for years to come.
Oh, yeah, I hope he continues to compete the way they did on Sunday, 38-6 run. That was a fun competition. Listen, I think Josh Allen will get better. I think that any player that is going to have a 10, 12, 15-year career is going to be better in year 7 than they were in year 3. I shouldn't say any player, but particularly a quarterback. You learn more, you understand more, you can do more stuff pre-snap. Your body's not like the other positions where it's likely to get beat up quickly. So I do think Josh Allen can become a better player, but I do not think he will ever have a better season. Josh Allen's going to finish second in the MVP voting. I don't think that'll happen again. Brandon just mentioned it. Josh Allen led the league in completion percentage, was top 4 in basically every major passing stat. I do not see that duplicating. So I think he can get better, but I don't know that his numbers, his team's record at 13-3 will improve along with that. Sometimes you are a little skewed as far as what the stats say and where you actually are at as a player. I also think, Wildes, it's not going to help him anywhere except for, long-term financial security when he checks his online banking, when he goes from making $6 million to $46 million, because what it's going to mean to the pieces around him. So I do think he'll improve, but I don't know that he will ever have a better statistical year, 13-3, second in MVP voting, and some folks saying he was the best quarterback in the conference. I don't see that coming again, Wildes.
Yep. Okay, mid-segment tease. You know what's interesting? It feels odd to even have this conversation, but can he get better? But then again, coming up later in the show, did Goff get better? No, they're trying to move on from Goff. Did Carson Wentz get better? No, they benched him. So I think it's a reasonable question. But, Brandon, here's what I think you said is something very interesting yesterday. How you, as a receiver, wanted to play with Adrian Peterson in great running backs. So we know Buffalo's run game was at best. And we know Josh Allen got a lot better with Stephon Diggs. What if in the draft, and they're drafting 30th, they went after Najee Harris? And they added a big star running back to that offense. And I know you're thinking Najee Harris not going to be there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the first running back pick and the last pick of the first round. Jonathan Taylor went in the second round in the 40s, I think, and he became the third leading rusher in the whole league. So I think if they can take a star running back, specifically Najee Harris, and add him to that offense, just because running backs in the draft have been sort of ignored at this point and fallen out of favor, I think that offense can get better and then Josh Allen gets better.
Yeah, I agree with you. A quarterback's best friend is the running game. They don't need to dominate in the run game. They just need to have some balance. We know what Brian Daboll is. Brian Daboll, he's going to line up in 10 personnel, 4 wides, 1 running back, and that's what he's going to do, and he's going to get after it. But if they can establish the run and just keep teams on their heels, this will be a better offense. And that's another big thing for this kid and why he's going to continue to develop. Brian Daboll should be a head coach. Brian Daboll didn't get one of those 7 jobs that was open. So now you have the chemistry still there. They're going to develop and continue to build on that. We talked about this yesterday with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Tom Brady was in the same system for 20 years. So if you can continue to just infuse that DNA, Brian Daboll's DNA, Jenna, into this offense, into this organization before he gets his head coaching gig, it's going to be better for this kid. So I would really like this move by the Buffalo Bills doubling down on Josh Allen.
All right, let us pinch that for a second because it is time for Nick's NBA medals. Giannis had 24 points, 18 rebounds last night as the Bucks beat the Raptors, but the gentleman from Greece just missing out on the podium. Nick, who did not just miss out? Who'd you grant medals to?
All right, the bronze medalist goes to Bradley Beal. And just like we need an intervention for Jenna, we need an intervention for Bradley Beal. Going back to last season, he has 13 40-point games. The Wizards are 1-12 in those, and they've lost 10 in a row. Last night he scored 47. Get Bradley Beal out of the nation's capital. Silver medalist, almost the best comeback of the season. LeBron James with some unbelievable playmaking down the stretch as Lakers went on a 13-0 run before Tobias Harris won the game. LeBron with a nice humble 34-6-6 as he continues to cement himself as the early favorite for league MVP in a last-second 1-point loss to, I believe, the best team in the East. And then the Nets, James Harden, 31-8-15 for the make-it-take-it Nets. I think Atlanta just scored, but the Nets won the game, so give them credit. So, Brandon, the make-it-take-it Nets get a gold medalist with James Harden, 31-8-15.
Hold on, Jenna. Throw me your glasses. Is that Harden over LeBron? Is that what I see?
That is.
Listen, is this an NBA Finals prediction, Nick?
No. We saw the NBA Finals last night. Philly hosting the Lakers. We saw it. I don't think that's what will happen, but we saw it. That's the finals. That's
why
the fun.
Wild took
Thanks for the
Brady
glasses, Jenna. I see it. I see it.
Thank you. I've got great vision. Hey, who just
missing
missed the cut, buddy?
Oh, Joker with a long assist. Joker only had 3 assists yesterday. He's fallen to 3rd place, so my dream of him winning the assist title seems like it's going down. Harden number 1, Luka number 2. But also, this is not only a highlight for Joker, this is a low light for the Heat, who are now 6-11, and they got some health and safety protocols. I understand Jimmy's been out, they got some injuries, but fellas, you got to get back on defense. You know that Joker can do this. This is going to cost you laps retroactively once Jimmy's back in the building.
That's right. It's a hell of a pass, man.
Question for you guys. Who you taking in a road race? I mean, a running race, a foot race. When you're like a running race. This team is terrible. What? Scotty Tuhati or Tyreek Hill, the cheetah?
Guys, Jenna had a stroke. Jenna had a stroke, guys.
We're going to talk about this when we come back. What happened?
Hey, First Things First listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
So you were the first person in the American media that I remember about 6-7 years ago that said, LeBron's actually better than Michael. And though you got a ton of pushback early, it is becoming harder and harder to not at least discuss it. You said something during the break to be about Mahomes and Brady. I think it's worthy of public dissemination. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'll do this quickly because then there is something I need to say to you. Right. If Mahomes wins a week from Sunday, if he loses, it's 7-1 Brady, and that's a very, very hard mountain to climb. But if he wins a week from Sunday, are we potentially just 1 year away from being able to make the argument Patrick Mahomes is already the GOAT? Not that he will be, but that he already is. If he wins a week from Sunday and then they win again next year, would be the first guy, first team, first player, first anything in the NFL to win 3 in a row. Oh, there was more there. Why did you cut that short? That was very fascinating. I wanted to hear more.
I
didn't want to hear it anymore. I was like locked in. I thought it was going to keep going.
I know, so was I.
I wasn't.
Hey, Bucks wideout Scotty Miller turned some heads with that blazing touchdown in the NFC title game. He and Tyreek Hill will be 2 of the fastest players on the field in the Super Bowl next Sunday. But who would win in a race between the two? Scotty says Scotty.
How would you do if you and Tyreek Hill lined up?
Oh, I'm taking me every day of the week. I'll take me over anybody. Tyreek is unbelievable, super quick, unbelievable talent. But if we're talking about a race, I mean, I got all the confidence in myself against going up against anybody.
Wait, you think you're the fastest guy in the NFL?
Yes, sir.
Well, Tyreek heard. He replied with this. Hell of a player. Good for him. Someone's taking the high road. Brandon, who you taking a race between Tyreek or Scotty?
Jenna, Nick gave him the nickname Scotty Tuhati. Tyreek's nickname is the Cheetah. Come on, like, really? He didn't even believe it at the end. He was like, me. He didn't even believe it. I'm going with the Cheetah all day.
All right, listen, I don't blame Scotty Miller for this. We're all parents. Wilds, hot take here, alert.
Yeah.
I blame Scotty Miller's parents. This is the product of a culture that tells kids you can literally be anything. Guess what? Probably can't. I love all my kids. There's one that has a chance at, like, you can be president. The other 2, drawing dead. No chance whatsoever. I love all my kids.
There's fast,
one
Nick.
that has a chance of ever being a varsity athlete. It's like, oh, no, you can make the WNBA one day. No, you can't. His parents lied to him. And he made the NFL, so he bought into the lies. Guess what? Parents, encourage your children, but don't lie to them. Don't tell them, oh, yeah, you can be the fastest man alive. No, you can't. You can't.
Okay. All right. So a few things. One, I wake up and read the internet front to back every morning before the show. And of course, once I saw this, I'm like, oh, I got to dig into Scotty Miller highlights when he was running track. And he has one of those 4x100 relays. I'm a sucker for all those. You get the baton. Where is he? Oh, here he comes, Mr. Too Hottie. Reason number 2. Remember Tyreek Hill is prone to underestimating people. If you remember this great highlight from this summer, when a high school recruit cooks Tyreek Hill. Now, I'm not saying that Tyreek Hill is not fast, but we do have visual evidence of him being cooked by a high school kid. Just saying.
Okay. He's not a corner.
He's not a cornerback.
It's a bad take.
And therein lies the
I don't know. Was he in front of the guy?
Scotty Too Hottie ran a 4.33.
Scotty Too Hottie's fast.
All right,
that's not fast
you
enough.
teased this earlier. We got to head to Los Angeles, where a report says John Wolford, the Wolf man, Wolf person, could compete for the Rams starting quarterback job if Jared Goff isn't traded. Brandon, who should Rams fans want as their starting quarterback next season? Wolf man or the Goff man?
Oh my goodness, this show is just comical today. Are we really discussing this? It's Jared Goff. Now look, he has some turnover problems, and I'm gonna continue to stand on the table and fight everybody about this one take. The biggest indicator in wins and losses in the National Football League is turnovers. But he can get that, he can change that, I believe.
Come on, give it to us.
This dude has led his team to the Super Bowl 2018. Okay? He's shown us that he can throw for over 4,500 yards. Does he need to change some things? Absolutely. But if it's a discussion between these two, I'm going with Goff. I don't know about this kid and his LinkedIn page, Wilds and Nick. Forget that.
Yeah. I mean, this strikes me as somebody trying to get someone else to say we need to break up. This is you're in a long-term relationship and all of a sudden you start DMing other people and you leave your phone just sitting right next to your partner, like daring them to look through it. Like, I want you to find this. These leaks just basically insulting Jared Goff, begging him to pull a Deshaun Watson, saying, I need out of here, so the Rams can then be like, well, if you want out, that's fine, but we're going to have to adjust that contract, make it tradable. This is all about Goff's contract. This is all about the Rams feeling handcuffed, and the Rams are now passive-aggressive, leaking to the media that the Wolfman, who I think was working at ITT Tech a couple months ago, might take his job. Like, this is insane. This is insane behavior, but I actually understand what they're doing, Wilds.
All right, you want to talk about job security, ball security? That's one thing. You want to talk about Jared Goff's contract? That's another thing. You want to come after the Wolfman? You got to come through me, buddy. The Wolfman and Brandon, don't take shots at the Wolfman's LinkedIn page. It's a quality way to get a job, whether you're a professional athlete or a financial analyst. And also, hey, getting into the segment, Wolford, like to hear his take on the GameStop controversy. We should get Wolford on. We can talk about Goff and GameStop and hit them all. Be right there in the moment, right in the pop culture and financial sports.
Confession, Wilds.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Go ahead, buddy.
I got on LinkedIn yesterday. I'm live.
Brandon can play quarterback
You made
for
an
Rams
account.
I am on LinkedIn.
Brandon made a LinkedIn? What is happening?
Casey plays.
I'm gonna
on to
friend
New
you or
Orleans.
connect you.
Saints GM Mickey Loomis said, we'll wait on Drew Brees to make a decision on his future. It's like the career that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friend. Brandon, who is the Saints' best option at quarterback next season?
Come on, first off, it's over. Can we throw this video real quick? I want to show you. They knew this was the last game. If you see Drew Brees and his wife just taking this in, I played there. And after every game, the whole team stands out there, throw the football around. It's like a nice little gathering spot. But I never seen Drew and his wife do this. It is over. And Nick, they have everything they need on that roster. Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill.
Taysom. Taysom could be a good slot receiver for Jameis. If we're not talking about them trading for a quarterback or acquiring one in free agency because they have no money, then the obvious answer is Jameis Winston. Drew Brees, we all know it. First ballot Hall of Famer, all-time great. Nobody denies it. He's done. And Taysom, grand opening, grand closing with that 4-game sample we got. He's not a starting quarterback. Jameis, LASIK surgery revamped Jameis, I do think is the Saints' only option on the roster. And that doesn't mean I think it's a good option, but Wilds, it's their only option.
Well, I think it's a good option. I like Jameis, but I don't see Taysom Hill's role changing. Not the starter role, but the Taysom Hill role, which is best filled by Taysom Hill. So, okay, so that's what I see. I see Jameis starting, taking about 70% of the snaps, and then, the Saints' whole squad falling back in love with Taysom Hill, and then he starts to get 55% of snaps, then 45, then 35. All of a sudden, Taysom Hill's a starter by week 8.
Oh, well, that I don't know.
Later than I thought. That's deeper into the season than I would have said. Hey, the Texans have reportedly hired David Culley to be their next head coach. Culley spent the last 2 seasons in Baltimore as the assistant head coach. Also coordinated the pass game and coached receivers. John Harbaugh said this back on January 11th, quote, "I do believe that David Culley would be a tremendous hire for any team, maybe especially the Texans with Deshaun Watson." Brandon, will this hire be enough, do you think, to keep Deshaun Watson there in Houston?
Well, first, Coach deserves this spot. It's probably 10 years too late. There's a lot of hidden gems in the National Football League like Coach DC. This is a dude who knows how to lead. This is a dude who knows how to move players. From what I'm hearing from guys in the Ravens organizations and other places he's been, this is a guy that can get the job done. But it's too late for the Texans to try to figure this thing out with Deshaun. This is the new NFL, modern athletes. Modern athletes, it's not about sticking with one team for 10, 15 years. It's about what have you done for me lately? NFL stands for not for long, and it's always been one-sided. Players are now starting to understand, they're starting to understand the power that they have. And if I'm Deshaun Watson, knowing that I have the potential to lead my team to 2 or 3 Super Bowl victories, then I'm going to look in other places. And I think that's what Deshaun Watson's doing, and he's also looking for a little bit more structure from the top.
Yeah, listen, I have no idea, and nobody has any idea if David Culley's going to be a good head coach. I am glad he got the opportunity. Tyreek Hill tweeted out that he was the wide receivers coach in Kansas City. Tyreek's rookie year helped him a ton. His resume has some tough spots. He was the wide receivers coach in Kansas City the year the Chiefs literally had 0 wide receiver touchdowns. He was the quarterbacks coach Josh Allen's rookie year when Brandon explained he was last in everything. And the passing game coordinator for the 2020 Ravens is not necessarily like a top of the resume line. But on a human side, all the people who've worked with him vouch for this guy. And it does seem like he got an opportunity maybe a decade after he should have. When it comes to Deshaun, though, the earth has been salted there, Wilds. So my advice to David Culley would be call up Brian Flores, not to trade Deshaun, but to ask him, what do I do when I'm taking over a team that is in full-on, full-blown rebuild? Because Brian Flores took over that Dolphins team that everyone said was tanking and got him damn near 500 his first year and almost in the playoffs this year. So that's got to be Culley's approach, understanding Deshaun's probably not going to be there. He's going to have a blank slate for his first NFL coaching job.
Yeah, but Nick, I'm going to throw it back to you in a second. I hope Culley does well. I hope the Texans organization can kind of right some of their missteps. It's also noteworthy that this means that Eric Bieniemy did not get one of these jobs. And to me, this continues to be surprising because let's say the Chiefs, as much as it pains me, let's say the Chiefs are sort of like on their way to be a dynasty, just like the Patriots were. When the Patriots were rolling, it was every day, knock, knock, knock. Can we have, one of your assistants be a head coach? Romeo Crennel, Bill O'Brien, who then hired Vrabel, who did a little stint with the Patriots, obviously as a player too. Mangenius, Matt Patricia, McDaniels, Brian Flores, and Joe Judge. And some of those guys, did well. Some of them did okay. And some of the verdict is still out on some other guys. But Nick, to me, the idea that Eric Bieniemy and that none of these teams hired Eric Bieniemy is just a major mistake.
I agree, but I also, for Eric, am glad he didn't take the Texans job. He should have gotten a job in the original hiring cycle, but that Texans job is such a tough build once you move on from Deshaun.
That's right.
I think he can find a better spot after he wins his 3rd straight Super Bowl next year. I think that's probably more likely.
All right, let's take a turn, talk some Tom Brady. Guys, there are no winners in a divorce unless it's a fictitious divorce between a coach and his star player. We're talking Brady Belichick next. Brandon and I are about to go get connected on LinkedIn. Back here talking Packers now. Rumors swirling that a divorce between Aaron Rodgers and the only team he's ever played for. It is possible after comments he made following the NFC title game. And get this, some NFL executives and coaches reportedly believe it too, saying Rodgers clearly wants out. Greg Jennings back with us now. Greg, you played with Aaron for 7 years. Do you think it would be a big mistake for him to play anywhere else other than in Green Bay, Wisconsin next
Put him on the
season?
spot. Put him on the spot.
Yeah, I don't. This is tough. And the reason, I'll start off with this. If they are willing to re-sign Corey Linsley, re-sign Aaron Jones, and bring back the pieces that made that team so special this year, and kind of keep that nucleus and assure Aaron Rodgers that he will have another opportunity to at least compete for a championship without starting over, then yes, I think he stays. I think he has to stay, because you would look at the landscape of the National Football League and say, where is the grass going to be greener? Where is there going to be a better opportunity that they will send you to? That's the key, that they would be willing to send you to in a trade. And I don't know if there would be a better place outside of Green Bay. And so with that, and it's not like, and I hear these reports, but sitting down with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur and this team all year, I don't see that there's that big of a rift. Now, here's the caveat. Yes, when you lose, it goes all the way back to what happened and what didn't happen. And what happened was they drafted Jordan Love. They didn't get him additional pieces. And that becomes the big focal point when you lose. When it doesn't work out, everybody goes back to what could have been, what should have been. And then when you look at, again, teams that are in the Super Bowl, let's just look at these two teams, nobody else. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were willing to do whatever it took to improve that roster, to ensure that their quarterback had every potential piece that he desired so that it would make him better. Then you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They were willing to do the same. They didn't even need anything else. We could argue they didn't need more pieces, but they go get Le'Veon Bell just in case, to add a little bit more depth, to add a pass-catching running back out of the backfield, to ensure the more talent. But you look at the Green Bay Packers and their lack of willingness to just surround Aaron Rodgers with guys. That is frustrating. And as a receiver, like, he's always had plethora of receivers and options where he can look to his left, he can look to his right, and there were guys that can get open and make plays in crucial moments like we saw this past Sunday.
Greg, I think those are all good points, and I think it's a good discussion, but I sense some subterfuge here. I think I know what's happening. This is not that different than if NBA Countdown were to leak to the press. I hear Charles Barkley is really mad at Shaq for that Donovan Mitchell segment, and he wants out. I'm just telling you. What word on the media streets is Barkley might want out of that show. You know why? Because it weakens your opponent and a chance to help you. If you read this Jason Lockenfor article, he says he got a text from a number he didn't know, which was the head coach of another team, saying, I think Aaron Rodgers would be great here. Spoiler alert, there are 31 teams in the league that would love to have Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback. There's only one, Kansas City, that would be like, no, we're good. So it is, I think Rodgers, Brandon, wants security. I think Rodgers wants to know they are not going to move on from him for Jordan Love, not this offseason, but in future offseasons. I don't think he's trying to get out of town because where are they trading him? He wants to go play for the Jets? That's what he wants. I know you love the Jets. I know you would be like, yeah, that'd be great. It wouldn't be great. It would be terrible. Devontae Adams scored 18 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is about to win a semi-fraudulent MVP. Like, I don't think, Brandon, he wants out. I don't think he wants out, Brandon.
San Francisco.
They're not trading him
the Rams.
Okay, go ahead.
They won't do it.
God, Nick, will you stop this? We had the same discussion with James Harden in Houston. If he wants out, he'll get out. And he'll go wherever he wants. We said the same thing.
Do you think he wants out?
I think this is 100% true because of everything that Greg said. Greg, you didn't want to go out there. You should have basically said he should leave. He spent 16 years in Green Bay. 13 years as the starter, and you said they're not willing to give him what he needs to get it done. He has one Super Bowl. And a couple years ago, we were saying he could potentially be the greatest quarterback of all time. One Super Bowl. That was with you. Where's the other one? Where's 2? Where's 3? Where's 4? When you're a great quarterback, Greg, you know that. You have multiple rings on your hand. So for that reason, Greg, I think this is real. He's looking at it like, you know what? Tom Brady did it. Tom Brady went to Tampa, found a great situation, and then now he's in the Super Bowl. I think he's really looking at this and looking at the options out there, and I truly believe San Francisco will be a great spot. I think the Rams will be a great spot. I don't know how they get it done. Nick is the resident GM. He can tell you about the cap. He can tell you about all the trade pieces. But I think he should be looking at this and considering it.
And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be considering it and shouldn't be looking at it, but if the Packers, and this was the point that I made, if the Packers are unwilling to re-sign some of those crucial pieces and assets that they had this past season moving forward to ensure that he will have another opportunity. Because let's face it, if he goes... to say he would get traded to another NFC team, it's just hard for me to see that happening when the Green Bay Packers would have to face him to get to where they just left the NFC Championship game. They would have to go through Aaron Rodgers.
But Greg, it's the same story. Those guys that you want him to re-sign is homegrown. That's what you guys have done for 30, 40 years. We draft Greg Jennings. Greg Jennings is going to lead us to the Super Bowl, right? But what happened in the time that y'all won the Super Bowl, where y'all kind of went outside the box? Who'd y'all go get a couple years before? Charles Woodson. Y'all, that's what you guys need to do. Who is that playmaker? Who is that honey badger that's going to complement that offense? Just give me the ball back a couple times. Charles Woodson, if you threw that ball up in the air and it was hanging for maybe a second too long, it was going the other way. That's what they're missing, is that splash free agent that can come in and make an impact right away.
I couldn't agree with you anymore.
They did add Zadarius Smith, to be fair, a year ago. He was a hell of an addition.
Guys, why is Scotty Miller saying he would beat Tyreek Hill in a foot race? I think the Scotty Too Hotty nickname's getting to his head. We'll discuss next. First things first.
Definitely. This is crazy. Greg, Greg, I hope you're a part of this.
The head of the table, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and the final stop before their last man standing match for the Universal title at the Royal Rumble. It's an all-new Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern, tomorrow night on Fox.
All right, get excited, as are we here. Time now for stories to start our morning and yours, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. We're talking Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. You know, before he was Tampa Tom, he was Boston Brady. Remember? It was always the Patriot way. It was always Super Bowl or bust in New England. It's still pretty peachy for Brady. Not so much, though, for his former head coach, at least according to Brady's dad, who said Belichick is, quote, now on a little bit of a hot seat. Hey, Brandon, does Bill Belichick need to get to another Super Bowl now that Brady did it without him?
No, why? Why? I mean, this dude is the greatest coach of all time. We know this. Both of these guys got to GOAT status because of each other. This is a partnership. And then so it's easy to have this conversation about like Tom Brady being most valuable because he is now going to his 10th Super Bowl without Bill Belichick. But think about how awesome he is, meaning the coach. From a pure football standpoint, he is second to none. Like this dude is the man. Special teams, guru, defense, guru, hiring coaches and putting them in the right spots. Their football is the best that I've ever gone against, and they're the best, and that's why they won 6 Super Bowls together. Leadership. Most people in business study this guy as a leader, not just sports. We're talking about just leadership, period. Talent only takes you so far, whether you're a player or you're a coach. You got to be able to lead all. You're talking about 100+ players plus coaches all moving to one accord and all aligned. And then you talk about putting the team together. He's the general manager, Nick. Like, this guy does everything. Draft the players, cut the players, sign the players, trade for the players. He's hiring the coaches. He does everything. And this is an interesting thing that our guys, Dusty and Pep, sent me. Chuck Noll had Bradshaw. Tom Landry had Staubach. Bill Walsh had Montana. And Jimmy Johnson had Aikman. This is a partnership, Nick. 50-50, baby.
Yeah, 1,000% it's a partnership. But you know what did help Aikman? That Jimmy left and he won a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer. And I do think that because Tom Brady is, you're right about Belichick doing all the cooking, shopping for the groceries. It's all on him, which is why when you have a year like this and then Brady goes to Tampa and is in the Super Bowl, it hurts. Wilds, I got a quick question for you. It's a bit of a rhetorical, but I want your answer to it. Who is unquestionably the greatest NBA coach of the modern era? Unquestionably the best coach of the modern era.
Phil Jackson. I'd say Phil Jackson.
Right. He was not that before he went to the Lakers. He won those 6 titles with Michael and Scottie. And everyone's like, man, he's got all these rings, but is he the best coach ever? I don't know. He had Michael and Scottie. Then he goes to the Lakers. They win 3. Then he leaves. They fall apart. He comes back. They win 2 more. It's like, oh, look, I can do it always with great players, but in different circumstances. So I do think, show Belichick's career. Wilds, I think Belichick needs one more great season to be able to mute any criticism. Even if it's unfair criticism, people will bring this up just like Wilds. If this year Brady had gone 6-10 and Belichick had made the Super Bowl with Cam, that would be crushing for Tom Brady in the GOAT discussion, and I think justifiably, Wilds.
Okay, so about that graphic, I would throw out the Brown stuff and just talk about the Patriots. It's almost like that's a
That's where his only playoff win comes.
Just the Giants and then Browns, you take that out.
He won a playoff game with the Browns.
Okay, so here's how we get there. That's true. He got that nice brown starter jacket. Okay, here's how we get there. Why your old buddy Kevin Wilde's feeling optimistic. We got all our opt-outs coming back. Feel good about that. We got the 4th most cap space. Feel good about that. We got the 15th draft pick that will probably somehow turn into magically 3 other second-round picks. Don't know how we're going to do it. He always does it. We got Tom Brady on the schedule coming up to Foxborough, and we got big chip on Belichick's shoulder. So what do we need? You know I love the guy. You know a fashion icon, but I don't know if Cam is going to be our starting quarterback. We only threw for 180 yards per game. It's about 3rd worst in the league. So we need a new quarterback. We know that Belichick loves Jimmy G. God bless you, Jenna. So who else could we get? We got Jimmy G and Belichick. What about this, Nick? I'll throw it to you. Remember we had a guy who was like, you're drafted by the Vikings. You were great. Then you left. And then are you still great? Do we need you?
Randy Moss arc. Yeah.
What about that for Odell?
Could that?
We don't really. Does Cleveland really need Odell anymore?
Whoa.
How about that trio?
That's my squad. I know you're the Odell whisperer and Brandon.
No, right. You know where Odell should have his Randy Moss and New England act? Obviously, you should have it in Kansas City. It's the same thing. Brady was the best quarterback then. They were a champion, all these things. That's what should happen. Brandon, we're taking the car and turning it left. If the Patriots are going to acquire a veteran quarterback via trade, question for you. Who do you think's better? Jimmy G with the familiarity of the system or Matt Stafford? Because I thought Wilds was going to go Matt Stafford. Who do you think is the better fit there if New England's going to have a chance to get back in Super Bowl contention?
Matthew Stafford, we forget how amazing this quarterback is. Football IQ out of this world. Guys love him. We talk about relatability. And then also just arm strength and talent. He can make all the throws on the field. And what is he, 32 years of age? Like, this guy still got
it. The Patriots would have the best quarterback in the AFC East again. One last little shout out.
If you're listening, Bill, you don't have to win another Super Bowl. You're good, Bill.
Bye, Bills Mafia. Bye. Do you guys still watch the show?
We got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. Undisputed starts right now.